Hey guys, it's Morgan coming back to you with another video. Today we are installing the 6500 kit from WP onto our 2023 300XC. It's a mess here. Someone's gonna comment like, oh, I can't believe how messy that guy's shop is. Shut up, whatever. I don't care. Anyway, whatever, there you guys go. It's because I just got back from Hawaii being with Adam Does Dirt Bikes over there for the race, and it's out of hand, it's craziness, but trust me, everything will be organized and clean and perfect as we go together with stuff. I got all the tools out because I already did the left side. I've already done the left side, which is the quote-unquote air side, which is now not an air side. It's just a twin chamber fork side now. I'm not going to show you both forks because it doesn't really matter. Taking the innards out of these things is basically the same from side to side. One just is an air spring, the other one is the damping. So we're going to work on the right side or the damping side today. And I'm going to show you first of all, how it all works, what's inside the 6500 kit, what's like internals, why it's good, what it's all about, all that good stuff. And then I'm going to show you the valving, the stock valving that comes on it versus what we're doing. Because a lot of you guys were asking, why are you valving it already? Why aren't you testing it normal, stock and then valving it? And honestly, that would be a really good idea. I wish I had time to do that. But we're running out of time. Race season's coming. We're getting super busy here at the shop. I'm not going to have time, as much time to do testing and things like that. So that's why I'm not doing it. Also, TBT has a lot of experience with 6500 kits, so we already know what we want to do for a guy like me who races hair scrambles, off-road, a slow A-rider, old guy A-rider. So we already have good settings, so there's no point in me, other than it would be good for you guys. I just don't have the time. I can also say that these things come valved for SX. At least this one is set up for that. You can buy them. I think you can probably buy them set up for different things. I haven't really looked into that. They all cost the same, and since we valve them, I buy whatever's available. I don't care if it's the SX version, the XC version, the XCW version. Again, I'm not sure exactly what all comes on, like how the different versions of it you can buy. They all cost the same. The parts are all the same. The valving's just different. So these are SX, so I will show you what that looks like. You could drop them in, and they probably, even in SX form, would be a little more compliant and more plush than the air forks. Although I really like the air forks. But there's a lot to be done inside to make them good for off-road and a guy like me. So let's get started. I'm going to take that fork off, the right fork, and get it all ready to go. We're going to meet back over here at the bench. All right, guys, we got our forks off. We're going to take these apart like any other fork. Yeah, no big deal here. Got our fork cap wrench. Gonna dump this oil out. It's going slow today because it's cold in here. It's springtime here in the Rockies and it's still snowing. If you guys are from here, you know what it's like right now. It's driving us nuts because the weather's getting better, but then it keeps dumping snow, which is not awesome, but whatever. And this is on this side. The other one's a 19. I don't know, actually. I don't know why this one's a 22. It's kind of annoying because you have to take the little clicker off of it to make it work without messing things up. Anyway, KTM, if you ever watch this, make this the same as the other one. It'd be so much easier. There is our damping side covered in oil. I'm going to clean that up here in a second. I'm just going to put this on the shelf because, honestly, if someone wants to try our valving, I have it all set up. I got the spring and everything, and if you wanted to just, if you had a set of AERs, even the older AERs, if you want to try them, I'll be happy to, we can install these together, put this and the air spring set up in your fork and go try it out and see if you like the TBT stuff with the air forks. I really, really do like this setup a lot. I'm just excited to try something new and try springs because I do really like the simplicity of springs and not having to check air and all that stuff. That's why I run mooses and not tubeless or tubes in my tires, all that good stuff. I like to not check air. So yeah, anyway, this will be available if anybody wants to try it out. All right, guys, so You don't have to do this to install the 6500 kit, but it has been 50 hours on these seals and bushings, so I'm going to do seals and bushings also, and I'm going to show you. I'm going to try some new seals out. We've installed a few, but I haven't tried them on mine. But we are going to try out the new SKF Intech dual compounds. And as with every service, I like to do bushings on my own bike. You don't have to. It's not, you know, you can get away with more hours, but in my opinion, it's worth a little bit extra money to just put bushings in it, because then you end up with everything fresh. You're not running an issue of maybe having bushings be worn out and causing the fork seal to leak because it's rocking and all that stuff. So to me, it just makes sense to do it. New strike, or I call it strike indicator because I'm a fisherman too. New travel indicator. All right, you guys got me thinking I got to do better. I'm gonna put gloves on. It really is a better way to be, but I just don't think about it. I'm old school. I know it's not good, but we're going to try to be better about this. All right, guys, we got the dual compound fork seals. I'm not going to show you how we do this, you know, whatever. Put your fork seal on. I just shot a little video of how to do this right, which way the fork seals go on. But I think if you're thinking about installing a 6500 kit, my guess is you know which way the fork seals go. So I'm excited about these dual compounds. Again, subscribe to the channel, guys. Not only will there be lots of testing on the 6500 kit, but there'll be lots of testing on these seals. So, pretty excited about that. All right, guys. Here it is, the venerable 6500 kit. So, we're going to take it apart because we're going to valve it. We'll take everything apart. Now, something I learned, if you are working on cone valves or 6500 kits, you need a special tool for this. Race Tech sells it. There it is right there. I feel like they send you this preload adjuster with the kit. I feel like they ought to send you one of these for the amount of money you pay for it, but they don't. So now we need to get this off. So I just use the soft jaws just to chalk it up. I'm not going to clamp down tight enough to hold this to undo it, but I like to have them in the, I like to have it in the vise just to hold it, right? Because what we're going to do, we're going to take our preload wrench and our new thing here. I'm going to lock it down, because if you hold this, if you try to hold this outside and undo it, the whole thing's, you can undo, you can adjust the preload. So just want to get that there. And if you guys have ever taken apart KYBs or any other twin chamber fork, this works very much the same. There we go. All right, so now I'm just pushing up on this. I'm gonna pop this guy out. This is our compression base valve right there. Now we're going to drain this oil. All right, now this is, we need to get in here to the mid valve. And this is different than a KYB. You can't just take this nut off and slide the whole thing through. It constricts right in here, and they don't allow you to do that. I don't know why KTM did that. That's kind of annoying. Sorry, KTM, but that's really annoying. So we got to take this apart. It's no big deal, but you got to have the right tools, and you got to use heat, because this thing is Loctite on there with some nasty stuff. And anyway, I don't love that about this kit, but this is the only time we should ever have to do it. And if you're, you know, if you're a suspension tuner, you should have all the tools anyway. So it's not that big a deal. It's just kind of annoying. Whereas with a KYB, you just take this off, push the whole thing through, and you're done. I guess one thing about this is it keeps you from maybe tearing this seal with the threads. I guess that's kind of a nice thing. So let's go over to Zach's bench, actually, because he's got a better vise setup. With this, the way I'm doing it now, it's funny. Let me show you something, guys. We have stacks and stacks of these rod holders, and I should say stacks. We got a bunch. We don't have the right size for that, so that's annoying. Whatever. I'm buying one of those today, so I can get that done a lot easier. I really thought we had it, but we don't. So, but let me show you how you can do this without damaging anything and without squeezing something and causing a problem. So what we're going to do is we're going to chuck this up in the vise like that. It's in the little notch. We're just going to we're not holding it super tight, okay? Not super tight because we don't want to crush this. Then we'll take our preload and we're going to take it, we're going to put it down here like that. This is a 24 up here, and we're going to slide it in there and we're going to rotate it, and it's going to rotate inside the vise. They're soft jaws, so it's no problem. And I'm going to rotate it around until that wrench hits right down there, okay? So that's going to help hold it. We're going to just a little bump on here. There we go. Now, take our blue wrench. Put our hand on this bottom wrench. There we go. And like I said, this is some gnarly Loctite. If you don't heat it up, there is no way you're getting this apart. Wow, without damaging something. All right, now, boop, it all comes right out, no problem. And it's covered in oil and dripping all over Zach's stuff, so who cares? All right, now we're going to go back over the other bench, revalve it. I'm going to leave this here because I don't need any of this right now. And guys, if you're going to do this kind of work, this is super important with this. There's no good way to hold this without that. Like that other situation where I jerry-rigged it with the thing, that's fine. Nothing's going to get hurt. There is no freaking good way to do this without this. So please don't try this without at least that tool. To get it tight enough so that you can undo this nut. And like I said before, this is the mid valve. I'm going to lay it all out. I'm going to show you exactly what it looks like, guys. There it is. That is the stock 6500 valving right there. This is the compression side of the mid valve. That's the rebound side of the mid valve. And yeah, nothing super notable here, nothing crazy. Let me go get the other shims and build the other side, or build what we're going to do on here, and I'll show you the differences. All right, guys, here's our two stacks. They are very, very different. So this one here is this one that came in the kit. Again, this kit says SX on it, so I would imagine it's going to be very different from what we want for off-road, but that's what that looks like. Now, come over here. It's very, very different. You can see there's a lot less shims on the compression side. We also have a different setup here with the spring. I'm not going to go deep into it, but it's very, very different on the compression side. And then the rebound is also going to be quite a bit faster with a lot less shims. Now, you can reuse a lot of shims. I didn't need to go get all the separate shims, but I just wanted to show you guys. Like for instance, these Delta shims can just be reused and then as a stack. There's a few other shims that are the same. What I'm not showing you, and I'm not going to go deep into, partially because it's what I do for a living. Also, it would take too much to really dive in deep. But some of these are different thicknesses, even if they're the same diameter. And you know, the thicker the shim, the less it flexes, the less the oil moves through. There's crossover stuff here. You can see we've got like even a little bit of rebound kind of crossover here, diving way down and coming back up. It's a little bit, this dives down, but it comes back up. It's a smaller difference. And then they go back down and come up here for another crossover and rebound. We don't really do that over here on our stack. The compression doesn't have on the mid valve doesn't have a crossover. So let me get this all installed onto there, and then I will show you the main compression valve here. Another critical part of this, show you what we're going to do. I think I showed this on one of the other suspension videos, but this is stock piston. We like using the stock pistons. They're very, very open. There's no need for gold valves anymore, guys. It's my personal belief. Everybody has different opinions. That's fine. I don't, whatever. Racetech's a great company. I buy stuff from them. I don't think you need to buy gold valves. The valves these days are very good. But what you want to do is you want to take it onto this is a machined surface. I'm going to go like that. You see, there we go. So you put that shiny edge on there. Do that on both sides. There we go. You can see what that does is it ensures that we get a really good seal with our shims on this. These are really pretty flat when you look at them. If you take them and measure them, they're not perfect, but they're really pretty good stock these days. They used to not be so good, but that makes us sure 100% you're going to get a really good seal. Let me show you something. So I didn't Loctite this yet, and these Delta shims aren't lined up yet. Come on. Focus. So we got to line those Delta shims up and all that. But what I did is I tightened that down by hand. Then we at TBT, we set the float height on this shim stack. Okay. Yeah, so we set the float because, watch this. See, there's a spring, right, under there, and it moves. The stack can move. And that, like I said, it helps, whatever. You shim it, you valve it like that, because as this moves through, if it moves quickly, it opens up a little bit faster because of that spring. But this is why, guys, we don't just sell shim stacks to people. There's lots of reasons. One is we make money, is how we got to make a living. But also, a lot of it has to do with setting these heights, because when you put this all together, you need to tighten this down, and then you need to come in here with your feeler gauge and check to make sure that your float is correct. That's the right fit, and I've got the spec for this. And I already knew, because I did the other one, because the spec called for 3 of these little 10 by 30 real thick little things is kind of clamp. They're not clamp shims, but, well, they are clamp shims. They're not face shims. They're clamp shims, and they go inside that spring anyway. And they are for setting that height and setting that float on there. And I already knew that the 3 was too much, and the reason he specs 3 is because you want to check it, tighten it, okay. And it turned out I needed 2. So that's one of those things that you don't just slam shims together and put it together. That's why we don't sell them. That's why I don't want people running TBT stickers on their stuff if they did it themselves and they didn't get that right. No offense, I'm sure you guys are good enough, you can do it all, but that's one of the many reasons we don't just sell shim stacks. So now I'm going to loosen this up, get those Delta, because it's correct, get those Delta shims lined up. We're going to tighten that down with some Loctite, and then I'm going to take apart the other compression valve. All right, guys, so I got it tightened down. I got some Loctite. Another really important thing about suspension work is when you are Loctiting this stuff, go sparingly. You don't need to put a whole bunch of glue on there. But also, when you get done, you really need to make sure you clean this port out, because that is part of your bypass. It's what your clicker is controlling. So you don't want any Loctite down in there, or it's going to foul everything up. It'll also mess with the clicker, like the little point. Anyway, clean that sucker out really good before you put it all back together. Once you tighten it down, you can spray it with brake clean, and it won't affect the Loctite that's already in those threads. All right, guys, there's our other part of the compression valve. So this is stock here, and this is our TBT setup. Biggest thing you can see here is obviously less shims. It's going to be a little more move quickly. Also, a more aggressive crossover. So our crossover is smaller here, and then we have this guy that goes right up against the base. It's not really a crossover. It just holds these face shims just off the face of this. It's basically lets the oil move just a little more freely. Just holds them just off. They're not quite as clamped down tight. So again, this is for off-road. This is for me. It's going to move quickly. I'm excited about this because this is very different than the valving that came in it. It's pretty different from all the other valving I've done. So for my stuff, I'm super excited. I'm going to put this thing back together, and then I'm going to show you how the 6500 kit goes into the other tubes. Guys, I forgot one thing I was going to show you. Is that we are replacing this, the ICS, it's an internal compression spring, and this that's on there is 18 Newton meter, and this that's going on there is a 12. So that is another thing that makes this move faster. And actually, I was talking to Solid, they're having guys, even some of their MX guys and SX guys are running the 12 just to let the thing move a little bit freer. Then obviously on those guys' bikes, they're going to valve it stiffer. They're going to put a lot more shims and stiffer, that thing to control it. Because springs, obviously you need springs to control things, but you don't want to control the quality of the movement, if that makes sense. That's a good way to describe it. With the springs, you want to do that with valving, and then have the springs just do their job of the big spring's holding you up in the stroke and obviously rebounding, and this little guy is letting it blow off when it needs to blow off. But to try to fix any valving issues or fix any stiffness with the spring is not the best way to go. Valving is a way better way. So you got to take this guy off. It's really tight. You just got to be really careful because you can't really use heat on it because this is plastic. You'll melt it. So we've got our tool for the special tool for the fork in here in our vise, clamped down nice and tight. Also got a ratchet hook to it, and then we have, this is a 15 millimeter, and we're just gonna take that apart. It's kind of nerve-wracking because it's super tight because it's got a bunch of Loctite on it, but just go easy. Alright guys, real quick, sorry about the sound changing here. I got my mics charging up, but you bleed this like you would any other thing, any other twin chamber. Just pour oil in there, pump it up and down slowly, get all the bubbles out, and then we're going to reinstall the valve, the compression valve. Then that's where it gets different from a normal fork on installing this. Although not terribly different, just a little bit. Guys, when you bleed these things, like you saw me pushing really hard on that, there's extra oil in there now, so, and that happens, but these will self-bleed. Once you get the air out, they'll self-bleed that extra oil. When you push this up the first time, that's why these holes are right here, it'll bleed that extra out. Take our adjusting rod, slide that back in. Make sure it springs nicely. It should, it's all brand new. I've got our springs, these are 4/4s for my weight. And it comes with a whole bunch of different spacers. I've already checked it all out and made sure I know what the preload is. So I got this spacer on there. If you get these things, guys, call me or whatever, I can help you figure that out. Or you can look at some other instructions. But basically, you want just a little bit of preload on these because you can adjust the preload on the top, which is nice. So you just want these to not be flopping around. I took all the preload out on the equipment. Now we'll slide this on there, and then we can, then this spacer will help keep it, get it to the right tension, just so it's not, overly tension, and then we can adjust preload to get the right sag. All right, guys. So here we go. Now we're going to, this is the adapter that drops into the fork tube, and this keys into the bottom, and it's this big around here here and here. It helps guide it down. So it's good. It's not like gonna get cocked this way, but it might not drop right in. That's no big deal. You can just fix it once you get it down in there. You can kind of reach up in here and move it until it drops into its home. There we go. Spring. That'll help hold that in place. Your cartridge. All right, now we got it in there. We're just gonna push down. Let me get this pushed down. I'll show you what this looks like. All right, guys. So you can see you can push down far enough and kind of hook this on the edge there for now. We don't want to leave it there because if you tap it, it'll spring down there and mess you up. Don't ask me how I know. So I'm gonna drop this down in, and then we're gonna take our adjuster and just gonna throw it on there. All right, guys, 375 cc's, 508 in the outside.
You been looking for this?
No, I put the orange one on.
Yeah, that or aftermarket. Oh.
Yeah, I mean. Alright guys, there we go. Push on it, make sure everything moves smooth. Set our clickers. My spec is 15 compression, 18 rebound. Well, there you go, guys. That's the inside and out of a 6500 kit from WP. I'm really excited about testing these things. Again, I really like the air forks on these. Just looking for testing so I can get back to you guys and let you know what's the best. I really do believe that you can valve the air fork and be really happy with these bikes. So you don't have to spend the extra $1,500 on the kit, which is what these cost when you buy springs and everything. It's about $1,500 for the 6500 kit, the big springs. They don't come with any kind of spring for your weight, like the outside spring, and then buying the new little ICSs cost more money. So $1,500 in parts. We charge about, I think, it's like $4 or something for revalving. It's about basically almost $2,000 for the forks to set this up. So it's a lot of money. But hopefully it's going to work really well. And then the cool thing about KTMs, if you do it on KTM, which the 6500 is only 4 KTMs, but if you do that, you can then swap it to your next KTM, anyway. So works out really good. Get this bolted up. Let's do some testing. Make sure you guys subscribe. If you like this video, give us a thumbs up. Let me know if this helped or was interesting or whatever. Leave a comment below, and stay tuned for the next all the next testing and stuff. Oh, these forks are good. They were good before, but they're better now.